Town of Dudley on this 20th day of October 2025. As of 6:55, we exceeded our quorum requirement of 50 with about 74 registered voters in the town of Dudley. Since we have exceeded our quorum, we can begin our meeting. Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here tonight to participate in one of the most important traditions of New England democracy, the town meeting. It's here that we as a community come together to make decisions about how our town operates, how we allocate our shared resources, and how we shape the future of Dudley. Each voter has an equal voice and an equal opportunity to be heard, a cornerstone of our local government that's endured for generations. It's been a rewarding experience for me these past 8 years as town moderator. This will be my final town meeting in my role as town moderator as I transition fully into the role of member of the Board of Selectmen. I've learned much from you in these past 8 years. I'm proud to have had the privilege of working with you in this capacity, and I know that our town will move forward in a very positive way because of your involvement. Before we begin this evening's business, I'd like to offer a few reminders about meeting decorum to ensure a productive and respectful session. Please address all comments and questions through me, the moderator. Speak clearly at the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Only one person may speak at a time. Please wait to be recognized before speaking. I'll try and move around the room, just to raise a hand if you're looking to come up. I'll call you up to the mic where you state your name and again your address. Keep comments focused on the motion under discussion. Additionally, comments during discussion should be original thoughts, questions, etc., so we do not hear repeat information from the same perspective. Show respect for all speakers, whether or not you agree or disagree with their position. Only speak through the moderator. Kindly refer to other speakers as just that, the previous speaker, or something to that effect. Please refrain from applause, interruptions, or side conversations that may disrupt the meeting. I will do my best to adhere to the governing rules of this meeting, Robert's Rules of Order, and others as outlined in our town bylaws. Only residents of the town or agents acting on behalf of the town or town projects, and of course our legal counsel, may address town meeting. All visitors must be seated in the front area of the auditorium. Those visitors should not have received clickers, which is our voting system this evening. We've done our due diligence to check the clicker system, and we also have a representative to ensure that any tech issues can get resolved quickly if we have any. As a reminder, we've historically accepted through unanimous consent the rule that each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes per article, accepting presentations or question clarifications and responses during that speaker's time. Is there anyone opposed to the rule of 5 minutes as opposed to the 10 outlined in Robert's rules? All right, through unanimous consent, we will have a 5-minute limit per speaker per article. Your engagement and civility help ensure that this process works as intended. Open, fair, and respectful deliberation for the good of our town. Thank you again for being here and doing your part in this important act of local democracy. Mrs. Smith, could you verify the public notification of the warrant was completed?
To either of the constables of the town of Dudley in said county greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Dudley, qualified to vote in elections and town affairs, to meet in the Connie Banco Galley Auditorium at Shepherd Hill Regional High School, 68 Dudley Oxford Road in said Dudley, on Monday, October 20th, 2025, and if needed, Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m., then and there to take action on the following articles.
Ms. Smith, could you please verify that the delivery of the warrant was completed?
We are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof at the Dudley Municipal Center and the Dudley Town website, by posting notice of availability of the warrant on one cable access channel. Warrant to be posted at least 14 days before holding of said meeting. Hereof, fail not and make due return of this warrant with your doing thereon to the town clerks at the time of holding of said meeting, given under our hands the 6th day in October in the year 2025. Signed, Gianna Chesnes, Stephen Sullivan, Carrie Siganovich. Board of Selectmen, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Dudley by posting up attested copies of the same at the Dudley Municipal Center on the 6th of October 2025. I also observed and posted on the town's website the notice of availability on the Dudley Cable Access Channel on the 6th of October 2025. Thereby making my return to the Dudley Town Clerk on October 6th, October 2025.
Thank you. Let's jump into the articles. Article 1, to hear committee recommendations, to see if the town will vote to hear and act on the recommendations of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance, Appropriation, and Advisory Committee, or take any other action relative thereto. Oh, the test. We're going to hold on that, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I forget. We have clickers that work. Those of you new to town meeting, we have a clicker system to do our votes. 2 buttons that are important for you to know. Button number 1A and button number 2B. Those will be the buttons that you vote on the articles with. 1A is for yes or aye in the affirmative. 2B is a no vote in the negative for the motion that's been made. If you do push the wrong button, no worries. You've got a little clock that's going to appear on the bottom right-hand side of this screen up front. You have until that time expires to lock in your vote. When you do push the button at the appropriate time within that window, there will be a green light in the upper right-hand corner that will show that your vote was cast and accepted by the machine tabulating the votes. If there's a red signal, it just means that your vote hasn't gone through. There'll also be an indication on the LED screen of a null symbol showing that no vote was cast. If there are any issues, once the vote closes, meaning the time's expired, please just call a point of order and we'll go ahead and make sure we can get your vote added in to the total. Okay? I think I went through all that. I've been doing this for a while. So the test question of the day, I think this time you can grab your clicker. Are we in the town of Dudley, Massachusetts? 1 for yes, 2 for no. We'll call this sample Article 2 a vote. The clock is much larger this year. And if you notice, you should have a green icon flashing, as well as the vote being recorded in the box. Just use the 1 or the 2. And 11% do not know we were in the town of Dudley tonight. The Charlton Town meeting is going on. You have time to make Article 3, I think, if you leave now. This vote passes with a majority. Now we'll jump into Article 1. As read, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir.
Good evening. The FAA recommends that you approve Article 1 as written, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion for Article 1? Seeing none, we'll move Article 1 to a vote. All in favor, 1 or A for yes. All opposed, 2 or B for no. Article 1 is passed with a clear majority. Article 2, FY 2026 amended budget, to see if the town will vote to determine the sums of money the town will raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds to defray the charges and expenses of the town and provide for a reserve fund determining the compensation for elected officials and including debt and interest for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2025, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor.
The FAA recommends that you approve Article 2 as printed in the warrant, amending the fiscal year 2026 operating budget with the revised amounts and the funding sources as shown, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on Article 2. Yes, sir.
John Breyer, 16 Flaxfield Road. My question, and you have to excuse my ignorance, I'm not as in depth this year on the budget and stuff, but looking at it, it looks like there was probably about 1.2 to 1.4 million in free cash or something certified, and that's where the extra cash came from. So my question is kind of related to Article 12 with this as well. If we had 1.3 or 1.4 million dollars in free cash, why are we looking to borrow for Article 12 when we should be simply assuming that expense within the budget and not borrowing for it?
Thank you. Mr. Matt?
We did bring this up in our FAA meeting. I'm going to defer to the town administrator on this one.
Mr. Ruda?
At the time we brought this up, we were looking at a $1.2 million, we've actually been looking for it now, free cash number. After it went through and was certified by DLS, it was reduced to $1,070,000. So there's going to be an amendment on Article, there's going to be an amendment on Article 9, depositing into stabilization, capital improvement stabilization. That amount is going to be hopefully amended from 604 down to 365, which will be the balance of the free cash. So that would leave a $365,000 deposit available to either deposit into stabilization, or if the town meeting decides otherwise, use it according to what Mr. Breyer suggested.
Mr. Ruda, can you clarify the article that you were referencing?
Article 6 will be the amended free cash amount deposited into stabilization.
Thank you. Additional discussion for Article 2? Seeing none, we'll move Article 2 to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Well, that's 1 for yes, 2 for no. Article 2 is passed with a clear majority. Article 3, unpaid bills of prior fiscal year, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the following sources the amounts listed to pay unpaid bills from FY 2025 or take any other action relative thereto. $2,345 from retained sewer earnings sewer, account number listed for Slims and Berthium Sewer Service. $8,400 from retained earnings sewer account listed for LaFleur Electric. $705 from retained earnings water account listed for NEWWA, $14.32 from retained earnings water account listed for Napa Auto Parts, $25.95 from free cash for Amazon Capital Services, Board of Health, $60 from free cash for Catherine Joseph, state election wages, town clerk, $120 from free cash for A.L. Puritan Corporation for IT. Mr. Mayor?
FAA recommends you approve Article 3 as printed, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Prior to discussion, just a reminder, this does require a 9/10 vote. Is there any discussion for Article 3? Seeing none, we'll move Article 3 to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Article 3 has failed at 89%. Article 4, cyclical inspections, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from free cash the sum of $21,000.00 or other sum to fund the cost of the cyclical inspections for all properties in town that have not been inspected in the past for 10 years for FY 2026 as required by the Commonwealth's Department of Revenue or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor.
The FAA recommends that you approve Article 4 as written with $21,000 in funding through free cash, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion for Article 4? Yes, sir.
Gregory Chojnacki, 39 Eagle Drive. You're gonna set another inspection to make more money from us again. Every 10 years, I don't know if you have right to do it. Every 10 years. And then you're gonna come and you're gonna check the seller's attic, if it's more apartment or stuff like that, spying on us again. This is what you're doing. People don't listen to them. Those people work for Boston, not from us. Don't let them come to inspect your houses. That's what they're gonna do. Now they're doing illegally because they're using another real estate stuff. They're raising value of the house every year. No problem. That's how they make money. Maybe my English is not perfect, but don't do it. I have to buy 2 new dogs probably and chase you with that dogs if you come to my house.
Thanks, Mr. Shanky. Mr. Sullivan.
I just want to point of order, Mr. Moderator, is there the assessor here or anybody from the assessor's board that can explain what the process actually is?
Thank you, Mr. Durgan.
So this is a mandatory thing that the state makes us do. Every 10 years we have to go in and inspect your houses. You do not have to let us in. You can deny it, and that's fine too. But every 10 years this one is, and the next one is going to be the one that's annual. And we keep our record, we should put it in our budget.
Thank you. Any additional discussion for Article 4? Seeing none, we'll move Article 4 to a vote. All in favor, 1. All opposed, 2. Article 4 is passed with a clear majority. Article 5, fund reevaluation services for real estate and personal property, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from free cash a sum of $22,500.00 to fund the cost of the recertification of real estate and personal property values for FY 2028, as required by the Commonwealth's Department of Revenue, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor.
The FAA recommends that you approve Article 5 as printed in the warrant with a transfer the sum of $22,500 from free cash, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion for Article 5. Seeing none, we'll move Article 5 to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Article 5 was moved forward with a clear majority. Article 6, deposit into stabilization funds, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $604,741.00 and to deposit the amount of $294,813.00 into the capital improvement stabilization fund in the amount of $309,928.00 into the stabilization fund, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor.
The FAA recommends that you amend and approve Article 6 by amending the amount of $294,813 and replacing it with $1 $165,700.05 and amending the amount of $309,928 and replacing it with $200,000. And amending the total amount of the transfer from $604,741 to $365,705. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. The discussion for Article 6. Yes, sir.
Question for the finance team. How did we lose $300,000 in this free cash? We were expecting $1,300,000. We're now to $1,070,000, you said?
Basically, that's what free cash got certified at. We just kind of found out tonight how much free cash was. Didn't count me.
Thank you. Free cash, we were estimating at one amount. DLS reviewed our work, and we had some confusion. We were advised to look into the general fund, the amounts collected for betterments. And that was the inappropriate treatment according to DLS. We had to move $253,000 from the general fund local receipts and put them into a receipts reserve account used to pay the debt related to the betterments.
Thank you. Additional discussion or questions related to Article 6? Seeing none, we'll move Article 6 forward to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. With 10 seconds left, it seems like we're going through Article 6 without any clicker issues. Liking that a lot. Article 6 is passed with a clear majority. Article 7, authorization to borrow Eagle Drive neighborhood water main extension construction to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $14,200,000 to pay costs for the construction phase of the Eagle Drive neighborhood water main extension project and the payment of all other costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer will, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is hereby authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore necessary or appropriate for the purpose of undertaking said project and using and maintaining said improvements as part of the municipal water system thereafter. All or any portion of this borrowing may be obtained through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, referred to as the Trust, or through bonds procured by the town. The town administrator, acting on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, the treasurer, and any other appropriate official of the town are authorized to execute and deliver any and all agreements and other documents that may be required by the trust or by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection in connection with any financing to be obtained through the trust. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this note, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by like amount, and to determine whether this appropriation shall be raised by borrowing from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust or otherwise, and to take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayock.
The FAA recommends that you approve Article 7 as printed in the warrant, with the borrowing to be for the maximum term allowed, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator to pursue all possible forms of grants, reimbursements, cost-sharing settlements, and restitution from any and all other potentially responsible parties as determined by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and with such reimbursements, cost-sharing, settlements, and/or restitution payments being utilized to pay down the amounts borrowed. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Prior to us entering into discussion on Article 7, we do have an informational presentation that we'd like to go ahead and have, so that way members of the meeting can be informed and/or develop questions related to the information being presented.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Faulkner from Ty and Bond. About 10 or 12 slides for you to give you a little background information. Next slide. Many of you may know some of this information, but I'd like to repeat it so that everyone in this room voting tonight is aware. In 2021, the town of Dudley's Indian Road landfill detected per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, known as PFAS, in an on-site monitoring well. In 2022, Gentex Optics Inc., Gentex, also reported PFAS in their on-site monitoring well. The town and Gentex both hired professionals experienced in waste site cleanup. These are referred to as licensed site professionals, or LSPs. They tested private house drinking water wells within the area. PFAS was detected at levels above the regulatory limits for drinking water in several houses. The town is currently under what is called an Immediate Response Action, or IRA, with the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to remedy the situation. According to Mass DEP, the town and Gentex are each potentially viewed as fully responsible at this time. Currently, there are 15 houses that have point-of-entry treatment systems, known as POETs, installed at their house to treat water for PFAS. There is the potential for at least 25 additional POETs being required when the DEP drinking water standard is projected to be lowered in 2029. According to DEP, a water line would eliminate the need for the installation and operation of POET systems in residential houses. Annual costs of the landfill monitoring and assessment would be reduced. Next slide. The map you see on the screen represents the permanent solution that is proposed. That is to extend the town's public water system, which is located on Fairview Avenue, to the Eagle Drive area. That is represented by the red line on the map. Slide. A few points that would be considered potential benefits of this project is that it eliminates the need for continual testing and installation of POET systems at these residential houses. It provides drinking water which is regulated by the Mass DEP and US EPA and is operated by trained professionals that are licensed by the state. An added benefit is that it would provide fire protection to the neighborhood. And it provides long-term cost savings to the town. This slide talks a little bit about the funding for the project. The design is currently ongoing, and it is funded by a grant that the town received. The construction funding is desired from the town to be through the Clean Water Trust. The town applied for an SRF, State Revolving Fund, loan grant last year, made the funding list, but this article was defeated this past spring, so that application had to be withdrawn. The application was resubmitted a couple of months ago, and it's waiting for list to come out for this year's funded projects. The town is coordinating a cost share of the project with Gentex. For purposes of this discussion, it is assumed to be a 50-50 split with Gentex. The proposed budget for the project is a total of $14.2 million, of which 10.25 is estimated to be eligible through the SRF program, and 3.95 million is estimated not to be eligible through the SRF program. The eligible work is work that will occur within the roadway. The ineligible work will be work that occurs on private house parcels. Next slide. So there's a hypothetical cost calculation shown on this slide. Of the SRF eligible, the program is a 0% interest loan. So that's the $10.25 million number. In addition, it's anticipated the town of Dudley will qualify for a minimum of 9.9% principal forgiveness. So that's roughly $1 million. The SRF ineligible costs assumes a 4.5% loan bond that the town would have to obtain separately. That value at that interest rate equates to $7.2 million. So the sum of those numbers is a total of a $16.44 million project with interest. As I mentioned, the hypothetical cost share between the town and Gentex is 50%. So that equates to roughly $8.2 million for the town. Next slide. This slide begins to talk about the life cycle cost of the project. Of operating poets for a long time versus installing a water main to solve the problem. From the poet side, the annual cost the town incurs for the maintenance and testing of the existing 15 poets is $248,000 a year. In addition, the LSP has a cost of $74,000 a year to work with DEP on this issue. When the 25 additional houses are required to be installed with poets, that cost goes up. So an additional $414,000 for the maintenance and operation of those 25 additional poets annually. An additional $125,000 for the LSP services to support those 25 additional poets. That cost does not include the cost of installing the poets in the first place, which is roughly $7,500 each. Versus a water main installation, which has an estimated town cost of $8.22 million, a one-time cost. Next slide. This slide shows the life cycle cost in a graphical form. The vertical axis is dollars with $50 million increments, 50, 100, all the way up to $300 million. The horizontal axis is years. 75 years was chosen as a life cycle. That is what would be considered relatively normal for the life of a water main. Many are even longer, over 100 years, but for this exercise, 75 years was chosen. So what you see in this chart is in the orange line, the cost to the town only, for the water main installation. It increases gradually from 0 to a 30-year payback period of the loan. And then it flatlines from year 30 to 75. Total cost, $8.22 million. The blue line you see is the cost of the POET system over time. Those annual costs I just previously mentioned, with a bump in 2029 because of the additional expected 25 POETs. And then you can see the graph continue to go up and up and up over 75 years to an unsustainable dollar value of over $250 million over the 75-year span. The town's payback on the water main is roughly 13 years, meaning that in year 13, it's estimated that the town will have spent as much on POETs as they would have for the water main, but then the town would have to spend on POETs for years 14 through 75. Next slide. The town provided some costs relative to tax impact. So it's my understanding that the current average assessed house in Dudley is roughly $417,000. That the FY25 tax rate was $10.57 per $1,000 of assessed value. That the FY25 tax levy was $17.8 million and is projected to increase by approximately 3.9%. The average increase to the tax rate is 41 cents per $1,000 of assessed value for this exercise. And the town did this estimate assuming the full borrow is on the town's shoulders. If the town is 50-50 share with Gentex, then the estimated annual increase of $171 per house would drop to $86 per house. Next slide. This provides a little bit of a plan on the schedule for the project. As I mentioned, the project is currently in the design phase. We're moving towards a 75% design phase by the end of the year. The 90% design phase through the winter, which it then needs to enter into some permitting aspects of the project with the goal of completing the design this summer, August of 2026, going through the public bidding phase in the fall, and awarding a contract for construction to start in the spring of 2027. Tonight is the town meeting to fund the construction dollars, and the draft IUP list for the SRF revolving fund estimated to come out around January of 2026. Construction, as I mentioned, would start in the spring of 2027, go through 2028 with final site restoration, grass and the like in the spring of 2029. That's the information I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Falkman. Before we get into general public questions, I did have a couple of questions that had been shared to me, so I'll just share those now, just in the interest of time. One was related to the cost share agreement with Gentex. Assuming a 50-50 split, what is the status of an agreement with Gentex at this point in time? Mr. Ruda, thank you.
We don't have a signed cost-sharing agreement for the water line yet with Gentex because it hasn't been approved yet. But we've been in conversation with them on a regular basis. DEP holds them as responsible as the town of Dudley. So it's not something that they're generally going to just walk away from. And they've expressed an interest to continue to
Thank you. The second question that I had shared to me was related to the residents along the route of the proposed water line. Must the residents accept installation of town water on their property, or can they continue to maintain the poets moving forward? Thank you, Mr. Ruder.
The town is certainly not going to force anyone to tie into the system. If they want to keep their poets, they keep their poets.
Thank you. Additional questions or discussion for Article 7? Yes, we'll start in the front left, young lady with her hair up, and then we'll work our way back around this side.
My gray hair thanks you for saying I'm young. My name is Suzanne Cabral, and I live at 47 Fairview Ave. So it was my understanding that if we tie into the town water, the town no longer if we don't tie into the town water, the town no longer pays for the poets. Is that correct, once the water line is in?
That is correct.
Okay. And I would just like to add a comment, if I may, about the experience of someone who lives in one of the houses that has this problem. I've worked in this district for many, many years. A lot of you may know me. I worked here in this building for 35 years. I'm a taxpayer. I've been a taxpayer all that time. We would rather not get town water, but I am voting for it because I believe it's better for the town. I believe that it would be less of a financial strain for the town if they put this water line in, and we do intend to tie into it if it's put in. So we will be living in a home whose water was polluted. We will no longer have a free well. We will have to pay for our water through the town. Okay? But I still think that that is a more fair option for the town. Not just me, not just my husband, but for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Middle, front right by the mic. Yes, sir.
80% probably don't like me at all. I'm the owner of the road. Nobody contacted me about this private road. Judge decided it's not public, it's public road, it's private road. And how you can go on private road without the damage that subdivision completely? Sidewalk is going to be damaged, road going to be damaged. It's underground wiring there. There's been good luck, going to be no power for whatever they cut the wire. It's very dangerous job. Then you got a lot of ledge there. I built that subdivision. I put first section of Eagle Drive with water. My house on 39 is the last one on the line. And what I'm gonna do next year, I'm gonna drill the well because I don't like your water. I was poisoned a few months ago with chlorine. I have to go to emergency room. And doctor told me if you put your water in your eye or mouth, you could die. So much chlorine is that water. This means don't lie to the people, okay? It's a lot of chlorine there. I don't know why you're using that stuff. And then you're gonna force people to cement their wells. Cost of wells is 20,000. They should be got money for that well if they have to drill new one later. You destroy it, the water, the polluted dump site is so polluted it's going around, not like to Eagle Drive. Next to Webco, you got 20 houses poisoned there. You never mention to the people. Next to courthouse, how many you got down there? That dump site, I went in April, I took picture. Looks terrible. You got two streams on the side, and the lake is so polluted. Why you guys did it? I find out Gentex never gonna pay you. Don't lie to people.
Yes,
No,
hold on,
I know. I have some connection. inspection. I know.
Just hold on just a second. Point of
Are we discussing Hayes Way, Lions Road, and any other sections in town, we're discussing Eagle Drive and Fairview?
We are not discussing anything beyond Eagle Drive and Fairview. Thank you.
So I think that bringing up we have no information before us for these other sections in town.
Correct. Mr. Shag, I'm not going to discount anything that you're saying, but just please speak to the
Yeah, but
specifics
you
of
guys
the
on
bottom line.
Paula Lane, you guys met more than two. They tested my apartments on February. You know, I have a lot of 100 gallons and it's very clean water yet. But why you guys did take that water from next to post office? Was abandoned those wells, I think 100 of them, for 10 years. It's so polluted. Moreno Pond is polluted with sewage over 200 years. Then you had the Dairy Brothers, everyone forgot about it. It's polluted. They used to
Mr. Chinaki,
I am telling the story to the
no one's
people.
denying that there's pollution. That's why
It's
we're proposing
pollution.
the water line
Yeah.
solution.
And you connected, you spent millions. Why you taking 14 millions from us again? New taxes. And you got a bunch of your bodies there every year, same people just raising. Yes, I am raising tax only all my neighbors around. That's what you guys doing here.
Well,
every year. You just borrow past 30 millions.
Mr. Chinaki, your question, again, is
I-
a good one. The answer
Okay,
was
but
embedded
I
in the
can
conversation
tell you
with the
about
presentation from Mr. Faulkner.
Yeah.
The reason, the rationale for the money is very clear, that we need a permanent solution. We understand the POET system provides individual families rights, to continue. The town is responsible
Town is responsible
for
because they
providing a
follow
permanent
water line.
solution.
That's
So-
why I cannot extend it, because you shut me down.
So
That's
if
what
I-
you got problem. You did it.
if I
Most
can-
people in that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I
Now
was
it's
dealt with
14
my grandma
million.
when I was
You
a
just,
kid, so.
you just approved the 30 million, was 16 million is. I calculated, I know how much it cost. Probably $500,000 for material.
Mr. Shinaki, you're in
No,
5 minutes,
I
so we're going to ask you to take a seat, and I'll ask the representative to answer the two questions that
They
you
like
asked.
to us all the time. Gentex wants to buy Toyota place for $2 billion, they back up. Gentex gonna go away.
Again, Mr. Shinaki,
I
you're
have this one,
exceeded
I
your
know.
5 minutes. If you can take a seat, thank you. We've had two questions embedded in the response. One was related to Eagle Drive being a private road. How can the town operate and install a water line on that private road? That'll be question number one. Mr. Daza.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Michelle Randazzo, Town Council. So there would be easements taken. I think there's also been some temporary easements taken to date for purposes of installing the water line.
Thank you. And the second question is probably for Mr. Zukowski or another member of the Water Department related to the chlorination of the water and the levels of chlorination and acceptability.
Scott Zukowski, 8 Catherine Street, Water Commissioner. We test our water on a monthly basis, and we are mandated by the state to put chlorine in, potassium chlorate, in order to purify the water, make sure there's no microbes or anything in it. Those levels are tested, they're on a regular basis, and they are not. If it exceeds the level inside the building, the pump's all shut down.
We can't guarantee the future, but if Paula Lane continues the test hut, part of Fairview, I can speak for myself, but my board members also, we will fight to get a grant and we'll take care of the Paula Lane issue also.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Faulkner.
Mr. Moderator, it's my understanding that the Circle Drive, Paula Lane area, while abutting the Fairview Ave, Eagle Drive Drive area is not currently in exceedance of PFAS levels. We are planning for in the design stage stubs to Paula Lane and Circle Drive to allow for the water main to be extended in the future. The current design grant that the town has obtained did not allow Paula Lane and Circle Drive to be designed at this point because it is not exceeding the PFAS levels currently. The funding application that is already in and closed and under review does not ask for construction dollars for Paula Lane and Circle Drive. So I wouldn't confuse the potential future work that may be required through a secondary project to confuse solving the known problem now.
Thank you for the clarifications. Prior to moving forward on this, I do want to consult counsel related to the amendment of this motion, given the complexities of the funding sources, the grant applicability, and kind of the scope of work associated to that. So hang on just a minute. We'll get to any questions after I've had my consult. Given the complexities of the funding sources and the information that we've had publicly shared, applying even a 10% rule to this, the increase in this amendment proposal far exceeds anything that's reasonable for the taxpayers in town. That's my feeling on this at this time. So we're not going to move this motion forward. So there will be no motion to amend to that amount. It was. We're going to go ahead and rule that. We're going to rule it out of order after the discussion by the town and Mr. Faulkner. That number is just extraordinarily large compared to what would normally be permissible. Yes, sir.
Turn the mic on.
Thanks. Sorry about that. I really can't hear the speakers up here. Didn't know the mic wasn't working. Thank you, Mr. Shane.
So that 17,400,000 is from Jeff Faulkner's report, the memorandum that he gave to the town in May. That's including Wall Lane, Circle Drive, Gary Avenue, 31 through 35. I'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need to save those guys too. Their lives matter.
Thank you. Mr. Faulkner.
Moderator. So Time Mod did produce a memo to the town conceptualizing the project before the town applied for the grant for the design. That did include what we call an ad alternate discussion for a additional water main on Circle Drive and Paula Lane. At that point in time, it was a side street that was in the vicinity of the neighborhood that did not have public water, so it was in discussion on the conceptual project. That conceptual memo was included in the grant application to design money, the design grant. The grant funding review team said we cannot accept that alternate because the testing on Paula Lane and Searle Drive currently do not have PFAS levels that were above the regulatory limit. So that was taken out of the grant. It was taken out of the construction funding application. It's out there relative to a potential future project if it rears its head with PFAS levels in Circle Drive and Paula Lane, subject to a separate grant, subject to a separate funding application for construction.
Thanks, Mr. Faulkner. So with that explanation, the understanding of the background, we can't move that amendment motion forward. Middle, then we'll come over to the side and then back over to the left side.
Again, John Breyer, I respectfully disagree. I think that amended motion gives you guys tremendous latitude and flexibility. Right? You're not going to start breaking ground for roughly 2 years on this project. And what the resident has proposed, the previous speaker, is basically giving you guys an authority for another $4 million that as the project goes forward, yes, we understand what Ty and Bon is saying, that you've got $14.2 million dedicated to this project, but as you go and begin construction, everyone knows it's a lot cheaper to put in an additional line once you're doing the construction, and during the next 2 years, if you determine that there are houses that do exceed those PFAS levels, you've already been approved at town meeting to go ahead, and you can simply apply for the grant to the state and basically say, this has already been pre-approved at town meeting. So I think it gives you tremendous flexibility.
Thank you. Mr. Daza. And then we'll come over to the side.
Good evening again, folks. Just from a legal perspective, the issue on whether that amendment is properly before the meeting has a couple of different components. The first is whether or not the warrant itself apprised the voters that it could possibly, that action at town meeting could increase from 14.2 million to the 17 million number. And so when the moderator was referencing a 10% rule, and in some circles and some moderators will say, hey, you can't, you got a set number in a warrant, you can't deviate more than 10% up or down. But the bigger issue, I think, is that any borrowing, the article and the motions are approved by bond counsel in advance. And so, because they're the ones that have to sign off on all the paperwork to authorize a borrowing. And so my gut tells me that if this motion were to be, moderator basically rules on voter, but if the motion were to actually be voted and passed, I don't think bond counsel is going to accept that. And the concern that I would have, does that impact the town's ability to borrow even the 14.2 for the underlying project? So those are just some legal concerns that I wanted to bring to your attention.
Thank you. So moving forward with discussion on Article 7. Yes, on the right.
Good evening. Kristen Mallet, I live on Paula Lane. What is the minimum standard for PFAS?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Sean Healy, I'm an LSP working for the town. So the minimum standard right now for total PFAS, six compounds regulated by the DEP, is 20 parts per trillion. That's the drinking water standard.
So it's not 4?
No. In 2029, the EPA will be enforcing a lower drinking water standard of 4 parts per trillion for 2 of the PFAS compounds, the PFOS and the PFOA.
So 5.37 is not a concern?
It is not currently required to have a POET system.
And that's a house that was tested only 1 month ago. Are there any concerns about that continuing to increase? Has the testing that's been done in the neighborhoods of Fairview and Eagle, what are the timelines of the testing that where it got to the degree that poets needed to go in and now?
No, we really, I mean, well, first of all, the neighborhood that you're in, there's going to be 4 rounds of testing at a minimum. So there's going to be seasonal testing. So every house in that neighborhood is going to get tested 4 times. Because we have to look at seasonal variations in the groundwater concentrations. But overall, in the neighborhood, we haven't really seen an increasing trend. It's gone up and down in a lot of houses. You know, a lot of it seems to be relative to the groundwater fluctuation. In drought conditions, we tend to see higher concentrations. But no, there hasn't been like an increase over time of concentrations in the neighborhood.
And when is the next round of testing for Pauline?
So the fall results are just coming in now, so we'll be evaluating those, and then there'll be a winter sampling then. Yeah, I believe that's probably going to be December or January.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We had a new hand, I believe, in the middle, right-hand side. No, Mr. Durkee?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to amend, to add the add alternative phase, Wall Lane, Circle Drive, 31 through 35, Fairview Ave Extension, 25 Lenzoni Drive, and not touch the dollar amount.
Second.
I'm likely to rule this out of order based on the idea that
No, no, second. Move the question. Yep.
Ms. Randazzo? Coming back around to the reason and rationale, regardless of the second, with respect to this, ruling it out of order due to the fact that this funding mechanism of 14.2 accounts for clear information about cost relatives to Fairview and Eagle, not adding in any additional expense. It's very unlikely that we would be permitted to utilize the grant funds for a project outside the scope. The 14.2 figure approximate covers all of the work related to Fairview and Eagle. Mr. Rubin?
I wanted to just ask,
These were new, I swear.
many articles include $7 for batteries. I just, through you, Mr. Moderator, I just want to ask our town council, is there a way to present a motion that says the 14.2 yes. Then pending review of whatever body needs to review bond counsel, you could go up to the amount that Mr. Durgan suggested and Mr. Ryer suggested. So you can say, okay, this motion called for 14.2 minimum, and then pending review of whatever the body might be.
So, thank you, through you, Mr. Ryder. So here's my thought. There can't be an up to amount. It's got to be some sort, right? That's just a general rule with any sort of appropriation. What I think could potentially be done, which may not satisfy folks, but I think could fly, would be the motion as presented, with some additional language that is the intention. Should Paula Lane and Circle Drive, should those levels rise to the point that the town is required to remediate or be subject to an IRA, that they would be intending to pursue all grant opportunities, reimbursement opportunities, and come back to the town to also address that situation at a later date. Sort of splitting the baby a little bit, doesn't really get the money in, but clearly expresses the intent of the town and this town meeting, that it expects that Paula Lane and Circle Drive would be addressed if and when they need to be addressed. I don't know, I'd ask Jeff, does that make sense? I mean, my concern with just adding Paula Lane and Circle Drive in here without a monetary increase is that I am concerned about jeopardizing our ability to borrow from the state revolving fund for the 0% with the possible loan forgiveness, where those components of the project have already been rejected by the folks up at the State House that review these. So by throwing that back in there, you run a real risk, in my view, that the state could say, well, we've already told you this is not ineligible. So my compromise, if there is one, is to vote on it as it is with an additional caveat at the end that it's the intention of town meeting to circle back, no pun intended, on Paula Lane and Circle Drive at the time that it's appropriate to do that when there's additional data and if there's a determination that the town is required to remediate that.
Thank you.
And if it flies, I can.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Oh, yes, sir, sorry.
My name is Peter Fox, 12 Ridge Drive, Dudley. This problem definitely needs to be addressed. The financial analysis that was shown to us tonight clearly states the financial advantage to the town of going forward with this article. It would be a shame to not take the opportunity of that and have the financial advantage to the town now and address other issues later on. I clearly wish the voters would pass this article. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Mr. Chinaki, you've exceeded your 5 minutes on this article. I'm sorry. Mr. Chinaki, you've got to take a seat. You've exceeded your 5 minutes on this article. I'm sorry. Okay, you've exceeded your 5 minutes. That was by unanimous consent at the start of the meeting. Thanks, Mr. Chinaki, but you've got to take a seat. Thank you. Yes, in the back right.
Superintendent in South Lane Way. I just want everybody to understand something here, okay? The water main is for all your benefit, okay? And that seems to be the big thing, but also now with Paul Lane and all that. The provisions, like they said, will be made to tie into Paul Lane when in fact that happens. But they need time also to get ready to see cost of materials, the contractors use. Things change continuously, okay? It's a good idea if you want to make a commitment tonight with some certain terminology that this will be addressed again next year, because it's going to be a while. It could be 2 years, it could be, we don't know how much is permeating in, or if it ever is going to permeate to the point where it becomes a problem. So if you pass this now, you've got the water main going in at a pretty good clip, can get the laterals ready to go so that any tie-ins to Paul Lane or wherever are already in place. It's easier, it allows time to adjust for any economical factors, it allows quick action to be done when it's time to be done, to tie into that or wherever else you need to tie into. And that's the good thing about that, okay? If that's truly the problem here, it's not a big problem. It's just a matter of some terminology to make sure the commitment from the town is when the time comes, they'll address the problem. If there's something else involved here, then you're on a whole different wavelength, because this is not the fact here. The water is something everybody wants. It adds your protection for fire. It adds good quality. And we're the ones that stuck with the added problems with your wells. If there's arsenic or anything like that, you don't have to worry about that anymore. We take the brunt of that. Our guys are and as far as chlorine and all that, the more use in the mains from the residents, chlorine is there for protection from bacteria, okay? We regulate that from the state, regulates that. We make sure we comply with the state's demands. Everything is done by the book. You know, it's getting a little ridiculous, all these comments on things that, you know, people don't quite understand what the state makes you do. We don't like putting a lot of chlorine in the water. But then again, we're also taking the bacteria out of the water. So you gotta understand that factor. Your well doesn't do that, okay? So that's kind of the thing here. If it's a matter of Paul and Lane, that's an easy to be rectified, just by terminology here tonight or whatever. I'm not a lawyer, nor do I want to be. But the fact is that it's just simple language changing. And if you want to get the whole setup done tonight, you vote for the project, then you'll make sure that next year, if in fact it needs to be addressed, you can address any other the other streets that are involved. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Trinos. Yes, front here and then back to Mr. Dirk.
Sorry, Sue Carroll again, 47 Fairview Ave. The state mandated that you take care of us, is that right?
That's correct. It's a directive.
So the state will mandate that Paula Ave and any other area that's affected will be taken care of, is that correct?
Yes, based on the regulations that DEP has, the town has to provide mitigation or resolution.
Thank you. So this particular grant had structure to it that we have to meet. If we don't include language, will the town still be mandated to take care of any street that has this water problem?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
As we speak right now, Paula Lane is tested above the federal limit. This is a federal grant, okay? It's pretty simple. It is a federal grant. It's from the federal money. It's enforcement.
Thank you. Mr. Busick? And then we'll come up the middle here. Yeah, no, right over here is fine, Mr. Busick.
Hello, I'm Joshua Bouchier from the town FAA. I'm at 63 Flaxfield Road, and I just recently joined the FAA back in May. As far as I've been following this project for the past little while, I've seen kind of the comings, goings of the last town meeting and everything leading up to this. And it seems like, in terms of personal benefit to every individual taxpayer in the town, it's cheaper in the long term to have the water line in. If we want to minimize, have the possibility of forgiveness on the grants or loans, or anything like that, we would need to do it as soon as we can. And that would be approving this motion tonight. If we approve it tonight, we get the water line in, that's going to make any additional expansions on the project in the future happen even quicker. No matter, no matter if there's an expansion or not, or if you can expand it or not in this part of the funding, which is limited to this grant so far. The betterment would be to get the construction started sooner, because you still need to expand the water line from the original point down to those other lanes as well. So with the additional language, hopefully from the council, would it be correct to say that moving forward, any expansions on that would be a separate project, but would be in addition to that kind of thing? I might not have worded that correctly, or it might be a question not for
Mr. Dozen.
Thank you. So I think there's two questions here. One is whether the meeting feels that it's necessary to have, an expression of intent with respect to Paula Lane and Circle Drive. The other is what I think is, at least from the legal perspective, and I'll defer to the actual LSP and the other experts, but if those levels test above, those houses test above the state or federal limits, then I don't see any scenario where the town's not going to be obligated to have to deal with it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through poets or water lines. And so, we're spending a lot of time talking about something that ultimately is going to become, as I see it, the responsibility of the town, one way or the other, unless literally, we have no more government anymore and the rules no longer apply. So I don't know, we could certainly, if someone wanted to move to amend, to have that kind of promissory language, we could do that, but I just don't know from my perspective whether it's really necessary given the laws that are already in place and that are, as Mr. Faulkner said, likely in the future, at least in 2029, to become more restrictive. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to get the project going as it's currently envisioned, so that you can, as the member of the Finance Committee said, get that water line in, so that makes future extensions, I'm going to assume cheaper. I'm not a construction person, but you extend the line out to where it is, and further extensions are likely going to be less costly. And you may be able to avoid a lot of the poets and those other issues, because you will have that process already in place where you've installed this existing line. But to some degree, I'm speaking outside of my expertise as an attorney.
Thanks, Mr. Dozen. Yes, sir.
Jim Hickey, Cardinal Drive. I have some experience as being assisting the contract administrators in dealing with federal money, being on the customer side of the Coast Guard Academy. And I know that when you send to Washington, D.C. for money for a project, construction project, you have to send in what they call the scope of work. And they will come back and they will give you the sent money. Any changes from the scope of work that they say we'll pay for, we'll give you the money for, means that either A, the project has to go back to Washington, D.C. and be renegotiated for an expanded project, or B, you accept the scope of work for the work that's done, and then anything additional to that, you have to submit a separate request. That's how the federal government sends out money, and they strictly enforce that. Woe be to you that use the money for anything else but what's strictly in the scope of work.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Caitlin Osher, 35 Fairview Ave. So I guess my question with Paula Lane is if the limits are changing in 2029 and her home is testing, or previous speaker's home is currently testing above what it will be changing to, I mean, regardless of regulations, any amount of PFAS is bad. So we're just going to let the homes that are going to currently be testing over what will be the new limit live with PFAS for 4 years?
Well, the current regulation has a limit of here, and that's the required action level. Anything above that level, we're required to take action to mitigate or resolve. Once that limit is lowered, if it lowers to a threshold that those homes test above, we're required, as we are now with the current limit, to provide mitigation or resolution. So, in answer to your question, no, we don't support any homes with PFAS levels. However, there are acceptable levels that are set by DEP that we have to follow. Mr. Faulkner, I hope I did justice there.
Mr. Moderator, yeah, I'll just add a little bit of clarity. So the BIL law, the bipartisan infrastructure law from about 4 years ago, is infusing a lot of money into infrastructure projects right now. The application that was just submitted is year 5 of the 5-year spend down of that BIL money. It's just a point of information. The current Massachusetts regulation of 20 parts per trillion for PFAS 6 is what the SRF program measures for funding projects today. If you tell them you have a site, even another municipality has PFAS in their public water system at 10, SRF is not necessarily funding that now because it is not the current regulation has an implementation date into the future. SRF has a finite amount of money they need to spread around to lots of communities that have PFAS problems. So they're not funding projects that are above the EPA limit but below the Massachusetts limit right now.
Okay, so the regulation makes sense. I just think it's, as good neighbors, it's tough to watch a water line be built around homes that will soon need one due to new regulations in 2029. I understand the regulations, but the reasons that I keep hearing for supporting this project is to give people clean water, and we're giving other people clean water when other people will need clean water, arguably now too. And then my second question is, how, and this is just me not understanding, how can we vote on hypothetical numbers? Both of those up there said hypotheticals, and if there's no written agreement with Gentex, then what? Because I would, and I know there's an attorney here, but I would like to think that any verbal agreement is nothing.
So as Mr. Ruda explained, the hypothetical is directly related to the 50-50 culpability on behalf of the town and Gentex. So a final agreement hasn't been signed until we know the exact amount of the scope of this project. Once it's voted, we have a funding mechanism in place to support the project. Then we can go ahead and finalize that agreement with the other party, and that's where we're locked. The word hypothetical is really there to explain the rationale that it's not final until we have a final approved number that can be supported. Mr. Ruda?
Just to further clarify, Mr. Moderator, we anticipated that type of question. So that's why we provided the entire amount. It's 100% because we don't know what the final amount is going to be. It's not going to be any more, we know that. So we provided the whole $14.2 million to be voted on, and it can only get better from there based on the negotiations and the recovery funds.
That makes sense. Last question though, if we have to vote on hypothetical numbers, can we have some hypothetical agreement with Gentex?
Once the funding mechanism's in place, that's where that payment agreement will take effect. That's where the legalese will take over and take care of that business. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Siganovich.
Gary Siganovich, Board of Selectmen, 38 Airport Road. Mr. Moderator, I believe we have a motion and a second. I'm hoping we could restate that motion and vote on it. If people want something, let's see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm assuming your intent there was to move the question?
That too.
Thank you. I'll get one more question.
imagine people are passionate about this, and I appreciate the neighbors who have concern about Paul Lane Circle Drive. I'm not trying to hold this up by any means. People deserve to have clean water. I think everybody in this room probably agrees upon that. I think everybody also knows that having two projects, anyone who does a house project knows that if you split up a project, it's going to be more expensive down the road. I don't think anyone here can deny that, so I think people are just trying to use a lot of common sense here this evening. I just have a couple other questions. How many homes does it take to raise the red flag with PFAS?
Are you referring to additional homes, like in the Paul Lane Circle Drive area?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Faulkner?
So, interesting question. The way the regulations work is that if a home is detected above the current regulation, they will either need a POET system or a water line to mitigate that drinking water. So it all depends, where is the home, what's the results of the rest of the neighborhood, so does, the water line will extend to where it needs to go in the future to deal with Paul Lane under a separate project.
So how many homes would it take?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean, how many homes?
So
it would take one home in order to, one home is detected above the regulation that requires either a water line or a POET, then that home needs to have a water line or a POET.
Okay.
She's asking to get the water line that can go up there and not just install seems very compatible.
Yeah, my understanding of the question was in the neighborhood of X number of homes, if one home tests above the acceptable limit, the town and any other responsible party is responsible to put a POET system in to mitigate or provide a resolution. So it could come back to town meeting and say, well, we've got to extend the water line past 6 residences. I picked 6 as an arbitrary number, and put a water line in on the cost of the town and the project for that one resident, and allowing other residents below to connect, at their own expense at that point in time. Or provide one POET system for the property that was impacted. Yes, sir, Mr. Faulkner.
So the location of the house that has that detect would be the determining factor. If it's the first house from Fairview Avenue, then it would probably be that one house. But if it's the furthest house in, anyone, and a water line is extended for that one house, anyone abutting that proposed water line would be allowed to connect.
I see. Thank you.
So I guess I was a little bit confused because I thought 4 was the limit, the federal limit, so I apologize for my confusion. I have an elderly mother who lives in the home that is testing at questionable levels right now. And also with health issues, so how would you feel about this if this was your mother living in this house at this point where there's questionable levels of PFAS?
Moderator?
Yes, sir.
So I guess I'm understanding maybe one point of clarification. The 4 that was mentioned is 4 parts per trillion of PFAS.
Yeah.
If one house is above the regulatory limit and it requires a POET or a water line extension, it's the one number of house. It's not 1 parts per trillion of PFAS. It's the one quantity of houses that would trigger that. But it would be above the current regulatory limit of 20 in Massachusetts. In regulatory, on the EPA level, it's 4 parts per trillion. Does that help?
So what does 5.43 mean to you then, as far as the testing is concerned?
If a house was above 5.4 parts per trillion, it exceeds the federal level.
Right.
In 2029, not today. But SRF will not fund it because it doesn't today, because it does not exceed 20 parts per trillion.
But do you see where all the confusion lies? Like, you know, we're talking about a project that's going to wrap up, and I'm sorry, what was the timeline? When would this project potentially be completed?
2027 to 2028 construction.
Potentially, right? Could go on. This neighborhood will be trapped up in Paul Lane and Circle Drive while these roads will be dug up, no exits, and no return on that. So, you know, I think everybody understands where I'm coming from, and I feel for everybody else. I appreciate everybody else that is speaking on our behalf, but I just think that I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm caught in the middle right now. I have a family member who probably shouldn't be drinking this water, and you're concerned enough, the town is concerned enough to be delivering us free water, and I appreciate that. It makes me feel a little bit better. But you can understand why we feel caught in the middle on this decision. I'm not going to hold this up. I'll vote how I think it needs to go because I'm a good townsperson. But hopefully everybody here can understand where we're trying to go with this information.
Undoubtedly, Ms. Mallett, thank you. All right, we had time for that one question. We had a request to move the question. We will go ahead and, Ms. Smith? We're voting on the original motion from Mr. Mayo. We're going to move this question to a vote at this time. A 2/3 majority is required as it involves borrowing. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Yes. The motion for Article 7 has passed above that 2/3 threshold. Article 8, fund compensated absences reserve to see if the town will transfer the amount of $5,000 from free cash into the compensated absences reserve or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor?
FAA recommends you pass Article 8 as written, and I support it.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for Article 8. Is there any discussion on Article 8? Seeing none, we'll move Article 8 to a vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Nay.
I vote yes all the time and they show it no. Was that computer?
Article 8 is passed with a clear majority. Article 9, amend executive board name from Board of Selectmen to Select Board to see if the town will vote to amend the town's general bylaws as follows. Substitute Select Board A for Board of Selectmen and such variants as BOS, Board of Selectmen, and B for Selectmen in context in which that term refers to the Select Board as a whole acting as a board. Substitute A, Select Board member for Selectmen, and B, Select Board members for Selectmen in context in which that term refers to one or more or all Selectmen individually, but not to the entire Select Board acting as a board, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor?
The FAA
Thank you. Madam Chair?
The Board of Selectmen recommends to approve Article 9 as printed in the warrant and to authorize the town clerk to make necessary adjustments to the general bylaws, and I so move.
Motion has been made and seconded. Mr. Singanovich?
So I'm the troublemaker, I guess, that put this on the town meeting warrant. Let me tell you why I did. I'm not woke. If any of you know me, I am not woke. A lot of communities in this state are changing, not just around Boston, but other places.
So, yeah, what do you want? This is a place where you get to choose something, and it doesn't cost you anything either way. So, whatever you want, you're gonna get. Thank you.
Thank you. Middle row, Mr. Brock.
John Breyer, Flaxfield. My first reaction when I saw this was, why are you possibly wasting my time with this? When there are so many other issues. Tax relief for seniors, we got spending issues, we got a country that's burning down from the inside out. And you're worried that the Board of Selectmen is somehow a threat to women, when I have served and had the honor of knowing Shirley Killian and Norma Cashmere, and there's probably a couple of very powerful women who have been selected right in this audience. They've been wonderful. I love the history, culture, and traditions of America. We're about to celebrate our 250th birthday, and we have a big birthday coming up ourselves, and probably within like 7 years. This isn't our history books. This is a part of who we are. You're wasting my time. And I am tired of history and our forefathers being chipped away a little bit at a little bit. Right? I used to be, it doesn't matter. Right? If a kid wants to pretend they're a furry, it doesn't matter. And now I got litter boxes in front of a school classroom because it didn't matter. This is where it ends up. Just vote against it. I mean, just keep American tradition and history and a little bit of our own culture here.
Mr. Sullivan.
No. Stephen Sullivan, Cotton Drive. No secret, I've been up here longer than everybody else. Did not serve with Shirley as a select person, nor Norma. Served with Joanne, Nancy Runkle, town clerk before Aura. I'm not changing her name. We have Lori. And I think this is no problem. But if we're going to go to the previous speaker, if we're going to stay with what this country has stood for 250 years, and why should we chip away? Let's take away the woman's right to vote. All right? If you people, and I'm not even old, I'm fine. When Jana got elected, I was chairperson. I asked her, you want to change? She said no. So it's a simple title change. That's all it is. If a woman is a firefighter, is she a fireman or a fire person? I worked for a post office. I was a mailman, letter carrier. Didn't bother anybody. If we go to select board, what's the big deal?
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Ms. Smith. And then we'll come back. Let Ms. Smith come up.
I would ask people to vote against this. Contrary to what Mr. Siganovich said, there is a cost associated with this, and this is the reason suggesting that we vote against it. We have general code that updates our bylaws. So what they do is they go through all of them. They have to go, if this went through, they would have to go through and change that word in every single bylaw we have, and then change it on E-code. I did watch the selectmen's meeting where you said a resident asked you to put this on, so I asked them for a quote, and they said it would be up to $2,985 to do this. And I know we don't have money to waste right now, and to me this would be wasting it because it's not changing anything in our bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zakowski, and then we'll come through. Moving the question. We will. Move Article 8 to a vote. Well, we had a request to move the question. Sorry, that hand was up beforehand. I was going in the order of the hands that I saw. I understand, but we moved the question. We are going to move that question for Article 9 to a vote at this time. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. conversion to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12D, which, if accepted, would allow the Board of Selectmen as a local licensing authority of the town to approve a request for a license from a licensee to convert an existing license to sell wines and malt beverages only for on-premises consumption to a license to sell all alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption, subject to all other provisions of General Law, Chapter 138, including notice, publication, and certified mailing of, and a public hearing on such conversion, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor. Deferred to the Selectmen. Mr. Shane.
The Board of Selectmen recommends to approve Article 10 as printed in the warrant, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion for Article 10. Seeing none, we'll move Article 10 to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Article 10 is passed with a clear majority. Article 11 amends Section 287-15, discharge onto town highway prohibited, to see if the town will vote to amend town's general bylaws, Section 287-15, discharge onto town highway prohibited, by adding the following. The following added is underlined if you're following along. No artificial collection of standing water, sump pump discharge, or underground drainage shall be diverted in such a manner so as to be discharged onto a town highway. Adding, any property owner who violates the provisions of this bylaw, or is the owner of any property or premises who allows artificial collection or containment of standing water, sump pump discharge, or underground drainage to be diverted in such a manner so as to be discharged onto a town highway, shall be punished by imposition of a fine of no less than $300 for each event, and notwithstanding any enforcement actions that may apply under Chapter 254 Stormwater Management Bylaw, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayotte.
FAA recommends that you pass Article 11, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion for Article 11. Did I see a hand in the back right? Pink, black vest? Nope, okay. Teacher eyes, sorry. Seeing that we have no discussion, we'll move Article 11 to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Article 11 is passed with a clear majority. Article 12, authorization to borrow Eagle Drive remediation, to see if the town will vote to borrow the sum of $222,615.32 or other such sum to purchase and maintain filtration equipment and other remedial measures to mitigate contaminated private wells within Eagle Drive, Fairview Ave, Joseph Street, and the surrounding neighborhood, including cap landfill testing and monitoring costs required by DEP regulations and all costs incidental or related thereto, and to meet such appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow such sum under and consistent with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7 or 8, or any other source of authority, and to issue any bond or notes that may be necessary for such purposes, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Mayor.
FAA recommends that you appropriate the sum of $222,615.32 for the purposes set forth in Article 12 of the warrant. And to fund this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 7 and 8, or any other enabling authority to issue bonds and notes of the town thereof. Therefore, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on Article 12. Yes, sir.
I guess we end where we began. We should not be borrowing borrowing $222,000 when we have free cash to pay this bill. So I am voting against this.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I noticed that Paul Lane and Circle Drive are specifically left out, but Joseph Street is on there, and they're on town water, so they're mitigating over there. And does this include Paul Lane and Circle Drive too, or do we have to come back in February to pay for their mitigation? They're back on the testing, so we're gonna have to test every single one of those houses 4 times a year.
Thank you. The question is, why Joseph Street, not Paul Lane and Circle Drive?
Is it included? Is it included?
Mr. Zakowski.
Scott Zakowski, 8 Catherine Street. Just by reading this, it says Eagle Drive, Fairview Ave, Joseph Street, and surrounding neighborhood. So I believe that includes Paul Lane and Circle Drive for testing.
Thank you. Additional discussion for Article 12? Seeing none, we'll move Article 12 forward to a vote. This does require a 2/3 majority. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Article 12 has failed under that 2/3 threshold. Mr. Sullivan.
Before we make the motion to adjourn, and we have a quorum, I'd like to have a motion of reconsideration on Article 3. And if someone seconds it, I can explain my reason.
Motion to reconsider Article 3.
Yeah. So my reasoning being, the first floor expenses on there, $11,164.32 would come out of sewer and water retained earnings. That's monies, doesn't affect the taxpayer, but it comes out of the ratepayers. That's bills that the water sewer have accumulated for whatever reason weren't paid. The other three total $25.95, which is free cash, which is taxpayer money. These bills have to be paid. What kind of message are we sending to Slim and Berthium, who do a lot? This is previous speaker, sewer commission can tell you. LaFleur Electric, Napa Auto Parts, local business. These are bills that have already been accrued, for whatever reason, fell through the cracks. And the other one's the total amount of $205. I'm just asking the motion of reconsideration pass, and then there'll be a motion to pay these bills. We need to pay the bills that the town's incurred.
Thank you. Additional discussion for the motion to reconsider? Motion has been made and seconded. Seeing none, we'll move Article 3's reconsideration to reconsider Article 3 to a vote. We aren't voting to approve Article 3. We're voting for a majority for the reconsideration of Article 3. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. The motion to reconsider the question is moved forward. Article 3, unpaid bills of prior fiscal year, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the following sources the amounts listed to pay unpaid bills from FY 2025 or take any other action relative thereto. I'll save us the time of reading that text. Mr. Mayor?
FAA recommends that pass Article 3 as written, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion for Article 3. Yes, Mr. Zakowski.
Thank you, First, thank you, Mr. Sullivan, for reconsidering that. I forgot. The bills that came from sewer and water, what happened is those bills came in, the work was done in June. The bills didn't come in until after July 10th. I believe July 10th was the cutoff to catch any late bills. They came in after that. The work was done. The slimest amount was for pumping out a station that was being worked on, and the floor amount was to modernize the monitoring systems in our sewer stations. So these folks do a boatload of work for us, and to tell them, I'm sorry, we're going to have to figure out another way to pay it, just isn't a good thing to do. And that's the same for any of the others.
Thank you, Mr. Zakowski. Additional discussion for Article 3? Seeing none, we'll move Article 3 to a vote. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Article 3 has failed below the 9/10 threshold. Go ahead and entertain that motion from the back that I heard a few moments ago. We have a motion to adjourn and a second. I don't think we have discussion at this point. We'll move that forward to a voice vote. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, everybody.